Okay, we're outside the house, and this is where that 3-inch sewer line comes out of the house. Breaks out right out of the front face, and you can see here we have two 3-inch sanitary T's down here forming a U. Now these are the cleanouts. Like I explained inside with the cleanouts under the sinks, these cleanouts are so above ground level. We have a little bit of pipe sticking out, about to fall here, and you can send an auger down that pipe. And once it hits the sanitary T, that auger is going to just go this way and clean out towards the house. If you put it down the other pipe, it comes down this way and turns towards the septic tank. So you're able to clean any obstructions that might occur in your sewage line before the sewage hits the septic tank. Now right now it's capped. Well, I drilled a hole in that cap a little earlier today. I'll explain that in a minute. Right now it's just capped in preparation for eventually connecting to a septic tank. I'll be doing that pretty soon. Now the reason it's all wet down there, part of the reason I was just falling all over the place, was because I had the entire drainage system capped, as you can see, from all ends. If you remember back at our cleanouts and our drains for our sinks and stuff, they're all capped. And that's because I filled the entire system with water so I can get my plumbing inspection, which, by the way, worked out just fine. And I drilled a hole in this cap right here a little earlier to drain all the water out of that so I can get back to working on the plumbing system. So that's why it's all wet and muddy down there. When that dries, I'll cut that cap off and eventually connect this to my future septic system, which will be buried right around there. Okay, let's take a look at those vents. On the roof now, and you can see where the PVC comes right up out of the roof for that venting. You see I have some 180-degree PVC fittings there to keep rain out. And there's some vent fittings on the ends. Right there. And right there. That, will keep birds and stuff like that out of getting in there. You can also see the roof jacks. Right here, we've gone over this in a previous video, but there they are. Watertight, siliconed, and screwed down to the roof with pro-panel screws. And then you got those pieces of rubber that stick close to the edges of the PVC to keep the rain out. And it works because it's been raining here and my house isn't leaking. Okay, let's talk supply. So we have the cisterns in back of the house. And then we have some 1-inch PEX piping directing that cistern water into the house. You can check out my cistern video to see how all that was done. But now, let's take a look over here. Remember from that other video, this is the 1-inch pipe from our cisterns, the input into the house. So this is going to this is going to send water into the water organization module, which I have not completed yet. The water is going to come into here, and it's going to get filtered into domestic cold water and drinking water. So let's assume that's all hooked up. That's going to be mounted right there. And then we have our cold water supply line to the plumbing of the house. Then we have our hot water supply line. So cold water will be sent down there and up over here to where the water heater is going to be. It's a little bit more complicated than just the water heater. There's a whole solar water heating system, which I will get to in a later video. I don't think I'm going to be putting it in right away. I think I'm just going to do the propane on-demand water heater until next year when I have more time to come back and finish that. But and then you can see here, there's a third line, and that's for drinking water. So, oh yes, and also out of the water heater, the supply line coming in, this guy right here, no, this guy, this is going to feed the water heater with water, and this guy right here is going to be hot water delivered to the plumbing of the house. So these lines run into the wall right down here. And you can also see, maybe it's hard to see because it's kind of dark right now, but I have insulation wrapped in PVC tape around these pipes, protecting the pipes from, this is from the concrete pour of the slab that's going to be poured here. You can't have pipes or electrical wire touching concrete, so you always need to insulate them to isolate them from the concrete every time they pop up into where the concrete slab pour is going to be. Okay, so got our supply lines coming in. We got our hot. We got our cold. Whoops. And we have our drinking water back here. And they come up. And the first thing that we see is our cold water supply for our washing machine. Now notice, for my cold and hot water, I have 3/4 inch PEX supply with these 1/2 inch PEX branches when it branches out to supply specific like sinks or washing machine, things like that. Hot water is also 3/4 inch PEX. Drinking water is 1/2 inch PEX. So that supply line branches off there, and so that 1/2 inch PEX comes down and up into the washing machine box. And you can see cold water and hot water, and you see that insulated line also branching off right there from the hot water. Moving on. Okay. Well, here's our bathroom situation. Let me skip over there real quick. Okay. Cold water, hot water. Coming down, hot water supplying currently a closed brass nipple that'll eventually be cut and used for the supply of the sink for hot water. And then cold water, right here, boom, 1/2 inch PEX, branch down to the cold water supply for the sink. And then we can see our 1/2 inch drinking water coming through. And the first branch for that, 1/2 inch PEX supply and 1/2 inch PEX branch supplying the drinking water nipple for the bathroom sink. Seems kind of weird. Seems kind of weird putting a drinking water spigot on a bathroom sink. I guess I'm going to do it. I don't know. Maybe I'll just leave the nipple there. We'll see. Okay, so cold water continues. And here we branch off to our 2 hose bib lines. Now these lines go out through the chase where the black water goes out into the greenhouse and head towards our hose bibs. And I'll show you those in a minute. We also have a supply line coming up. It's not connected to anything currently, but this supply line is going to be supplying the toilet with gray water. And this comes also up the same place from the planter where the hose bib lines come from. And that there's going to be a pump out there that pumps water up to the toilet. And we also have a, well actually let's skip back to cold water. Okay, cold water, cold water. Boom, right here we have a supply line for fresh water to the toilet. And that's important because gray water planters eventually at some point they're going to start to smell. It's unavoidable. You can do a lot of things to elongate the amount of time it takes for that to happen. But eventually there's going to be buildup in there and bacteria, and they're going to start to smell. So if you want to fix that, you can dig up the gray water planters, which probably needs to be done once every 15 years, and redo them. Also, what some people do is run fresh water to their toilet. And you can see I've done that right here. Fresh water and gray water. So if it ever gets to a point where it's starting to smell, and maybe eventually I'll dig up the gray water, I can at least in the meantime send fresh water to the toilet. Okay. And now if we look, we continue on with our cold water. We'll skip past the kitchen sink for now. Continue on with cold water. Now you see we've reduced at the end. We've reduced from 3/4 inch PEX to 1/2 inch PEX because the supply is diminishing at this point. This is kind of like a branch, only it's at the end. 1/2 inch PEX to the shower body right there. And also you can see we have our hot water also going to the shower body, obviously. And then we have a little copper piping and fittings going down to the control for the shower. Then we have 1/2-inch packs going up to the shower head.